Hi everybody, this is Josh from Musilesson. I know I look a little weird today, my head's kind of cut off, but in this particular video, we're going to talk about how to arco, how to bow on the violin, okay? Now in order to do that, I've got to make sure that we've got plenty of good wide view of my arm here, okay? So that's going to cut me off at the top here just a little bit. But bear with me, you don't need to see my head, just need to be able to hear my voice and see my arm as it moves, okay? So let's get right into it here. First of all, I'm going to put my bow down because we're going to go through the article, and as the article says, the first things first is the elbow, okay? And I don't really want you to actually use your bow at the moment, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to practice opening and closing the elbow. Now, on the violin, when we bow, all of our action originates with the elbow and the wrist, okay? We're going to use the shoulder just a little bit later on, but I don't want you to use it right now at all, okay? So right now, here's all I want you to do. I have something I call opening and closing the elbow. Opening and closing the elbow, okay? So what we're gonna do is I want you to take your shoulder, take your arm, I want you to put your elbow just above your hip bone, okay? I don't want you to put the arm to the side. I don't want it directly in front. I want you to put it right on the side of your body right here, okay? Above the hip bone. And here's what you're gonna do, okay? You're just gonna open and close. Open and close. Open and close, okay? Now, I want you to do that 3 to 5 minutes every single day, okay? Practice that. It's going to make you good at it. You're going to be able to become proficient when you hold the bow, okay? Now, the next thing is going to be not just the elbow, but going through the article, is the wrist, okay? Now, your wrist is integral in this as well. Remember, elbow and wrist are the two main things here. Your wrist is going to pivot throughout the entire motion of the bow stroke. Okay, throughout the entire motion of the bow stroke. Now, you're going to as you close the elbow, the wrist is going to pivot up. As you open the elbow, the wrist is going to pivot down, okay? So, closing the elbow, wrist pivots, open the elbow, okay? Close, open. Okay, now I'm going to stand up so you can see this in its full entirety, okay? So, closing the elbow, opening the elbow. Now notice when we're at the bottom, the hand is flat, okay? The wrist pivots down, the hand is flat, okay? This is what I want you to practice right now, okay? Now, here's another thing that I give my students just as kind of a fun little reminder. I call it the TRex Arm, okay? So we're gonna make the TRex Arm when we're up here, okay? TRex Arm. TRex Arm when we're up top. Okay, dinosaur wrist, I guess you could say. Okay, now, here's another very important thing. Notice my hand, the top of my hand is flat throughout the entire motion of the bow. Throughout the entire motion of the bow, okay? No matter if I'm down here at the bottom, which you can't see it, but you can now, okay? Or whether I'm up here at the top, okay? The top of my hand is flat. That's very important, okay? So I want you to remember that while you're practicing, while you're playing. Okay, because that's how I want you to do it. Now the next thing are the fingers, okay? The fingers will come into play once you've gotten used to everything else, okay? Now this is important. We're going to have another exercise coming up called the pencil game, okay? And that's what actually is going to give you the necessary function of your fingers to be able, okay, to control the fingers and do them as you need to throughout the bow stroke. When you're up at the top of the bow stroke, your fingers will be will be very curved, okay? Including your thumb, okay? You can see that, including your thumb will be curved. Now, I am a left-handed violinist because I can't move this part of my finger, okay? So you're gonna see, I have to point it out, sorry, I apologize. But the reason you won't see me bend this, and that's because I have an injury to that finger, which is why I'm a left-handed violinist in the first place. Okay, so you're going to see every other finger, and all of your fingers, hopefully, should be curved, right? Okay, so don't let your elbow kick out like this, okay, when you're bowing. We don't want the elbow to kick out like that. You want the elbow to stay underneath here. Now, when you change levels, which we'll get to in a later article, okay, when you change strings, the level of your elbow is going to change, okay, when you change strings. We'll get into that later, okay? But this is mainly just bowing and opening and closing the elbow, keeping the wrist like so, okay? That makes sense. Now, those are your fingers. And when you get down at the bottom of your bow stroke, your fingers will be completely extended, okay? Except for the first finger. First finger is going to stay a little bit curved to accommodate the hold of the bow stroke, okay? But when we're up top here at the TRex Arm, fingers are going to be curved, pinky on its tip, okay? Now the thumb should be curved and on its tip as well when you're at this. Now I'm going to show you this in just a moment with the bow, okay? Now, the next thing is the shoulder, okay? The shoulder is used very slightly at the apex, the top of the bow stroke, okay? We're going to bring the shoulder up a little bit and then bring it right back down. That's the extent of the use of the shoulder. That's it. That's as far as you go, okay? So bring it up a little bit, bring it back down, and then continue with the rest of the bow stroke. Okay, so bring it up to here, bring the shoulder up, bring it back down, extend, okay? So bring it up, and this should be one fluid motion, obviously, but notice that's as far as my elbow's gonna go. Okay, that's as far as my elbow's gonna go in the use of this bow stroke, okay? That's it. I'm sorry, my shoulder, as far as my shoulder's gonna go in the use of this bow stroke, okay? So all the way back down, all the way back down and up. There you go. And see how that shoulder's not moving back? And you can see it because you can see the elbow doesn't get pulled back. If your elbow gets pulled backwards, you're using too much shoulder, okay? So make sure you're not doing that, okay? All right, now, let me give you an example with my bow stroke, okay? With an actual bow. Now, hand, fingers, okay? We've talked about how to hold the bow. Make sure it's properly there. Hide the dot with your third finger. Curve the pinky finger, okay? Curve the thumb, okay? First finger right there, second finger right there, just about across from the thumb, okay? Now we're going to go through the bow stroke, okay? I'm just going to do the A stroke, okay? So you guys can follow along with me and watch, all right? So here's an example. Fingers extend. I'll stand up so you can see, okay? And that's how you can get all the way up to the frog. The shoulder is required to get all the way up to the frog, okay? Then you come back down. Extend the fingers out, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so a little bit faster. And there you go. And that's how you can get all the way up there. And then notice I'm going to bring my elbow back down when I go down for the bow stroke, okay? All right, so hopefully that helped you guys. Practice this a lot. This is really important. Practice without the bow first, then pick up your bow, then practice with just the elbow and the wrist movement, okay? This will also, the penny bow game will apply to this later on when we get to it, okay? Practice that as much as you can, then pick up the bow, then add the shoulder in last, okay? And that's when you're going to the frog. Now, I should say this, I don't have my students use the shoulder for, probably a good first half of whichever book curriculum that I'm using. And that's because I want you to get used to the elbow and the wrist. You're not even going to go towards the frog all the way, okay? A lot of times I have my students just stop about right here, okay? Notice you're not all the way at the frog, okay? That's not a problem. When you're starting out, you don't have to go all the way to the frog. We can get to the frog later on. You have plenty of time. This is a journey, okay? And we'll do more exercises with that later on. So you can stop right about right here when you're bowing, okay? So stop right about right there when you're bowing. Don't use your shoulder just yet. When you're actually practicing or playing the violin, you can practice it by itself, but not when you're playing songs. Does that make sense? Not when you're playing songs. Work on it separately, then let it naturally integrate itself into your performance, okay? All right, I hope that helped. Use these tips to make a good bow stroke and just keep practicing it. You'll get better and better and better at it. Watch me do it. We'll have some more games and stuff like that later on and some following articles to help you out, to help you practice. And keep practicing, and music is magic.